Hello, Brother Monroe here. Welcome back to Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts, where I'm here with Treefrog, as usual for the Battleship League, and we're quite happy because we are doing an Italian ship, and things are going nicely. So, what ship are we doing today?
We're looking at the Littorios, the Italian World War II battleships.
And
One of my more favoured designs.
the reason we are happy is because the game, at kind of the displacement we wanted, is giving us pretty much the dimensions of the ship, which is very nice.
Yeah.
An auspicious start.
Yeah.
So, what speed could the Littorios get up to?
They could do 30 knots.
Pretty respectable.
Mm-hmm.
And what about kind of subdivision, bulkheads and the like?
Fairly regular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a whole debate over their torpedo defense system, which we won't get into, but
Well, not yet.
no.
And then I'm assuming her crew quarters were pretty standard
Yeah,
for the time.
just
Okay.
fairly.
And then, what kind of engines did she have?
All right, so she has. We're gonna unfortunately have to give her oil too, because although she's got very nice engines, the Italians were kept a bit short of oil by World War II.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they
So
didn't
the
have.
quality was down a little bit.
Yeah.
Quality and quantity, actually.
And what about the engines themselves? What were they? I mean,
Turbine too.
yeah,
The boilers are balanced. It was pretty standard for this point, and then auxiliary diesels as well for power.
and then I'm assuming
Shaft semi-balanced, and probably go electric too.
okay. Electric too. Very nice.
Mhm.
What about her towers? So these are the towers that the game gives us. So we have one like this,
Mm-hmm.
which has a kind of double. I guess this is the bridge here, and then
The one thing we mainly
table.
want to look out for the aesthetics is you can see at the top they've got this kind of wedding cake style layered arrangement on the fire control.
Mm-hmm.
So for the Littorios, we should have a double section plus this little bit on top. Although that's not exactly the right. So it's not that one.
Not that one. And then I think this one is, yeah, the same but bigger.
Right.
And this one is the same but bigger again.
You-
And then we have this one.
no, there's the double stack.
Okay, so this comes in a couple of varieties, I think. This is the biggest one,
Oof.
which is pretty massive. So they're just different sizes, I think, all of those
Mm-hmm.
four. Although the back sections might be different. Hold on. So, yeah, this one just has a small boat deck. And so does the 2. But the 3 and 4 have a pair of... I'm assuming they're fire directors or rangefinders or something here.
Yeah, those are combination range fire control director setup. Where's my plan gone?
And these ones have this kind of balcony. I know naval
That's
designers
the
probably
balcony.
do not call this a balcony, but it's the term.
Now,
that pops
those
into
those
my
fire
head.
control directors are actually accurate for the Littorio, so we
Okay.
definitely want a form of tower that has that.
Well, why don't we go for the 4 then, which gives her
Yeah.
the best tower that we have access to. Well, okay. Now her secondary tower, there are a couple of weird choices. So we can replicate her forward tower in reverse to confuse our
Why?
enemies and make
Yeah.
them think that the ship is. They don't
Caution.
know which way the ship's
Battleship
going.
reversing.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
we just want
not
a
those.
relatively small one.
Okay, so we have one like this, which has 2 large
That's actually pretty
boats on the back.
good. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that is. I'd go with that.
Okay.
Just shove it forward. The only thing is, her. because her aft turret has to sit on
Here,
that
isn't it?
back section as well. So if we move that forward so it joins up, we might have the space. We might need to shuffle everything a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have a
Let's see how we
huge
go.
amount of space at the front. I'll tell you what, let's do the main guns. So what...
Is this the smallest forward tower that we've got that has the little fire control units?
I think that's the light advanced 3. And this one, we can go down to the... Oh, not that one. I think it's this one, the smallest one, with that shape.
Okay, let's try. Yeah, that makes me a bit happier.
Okay. So main guns, she had 15-inch guns,
All
if I remember
15s.
rightly.
Mm-hmm.
And triples.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm assuming the first one was kind of here.
Yeah.
And then a B turret super firing over the top.
Yes.
I think the enlarged is what we need to use. Yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm. Now let's see what we can do with
And yeah, it does fit.
Now for extra fun, we've got to also put a barbette on that aft turret.
Oh, fun.
Yes,
so
it's on the raised platform and it's on a little and it's on a barbette as well.
Like that kind of size.
Yeah. No.
Why did?
Yes,
What,
it's actually technically a fraction shorter than the front one, but I don't think makes much odds.
I might be able to do that actually. I'll try a standard one. Should be slightly lower. Or it will be if I can get it to fit.
Ta-da. Huzzah. There you go.
There we go. Why did they do that out of interest?
So, a couple of reasons. One, when we come to put in the secondary battery, there's actually a pair of 6.6-inch just forward of that turret. So by raising it, it meant that could fire over them.
Mm-hmm.
So the Littorio actually has some very, very nice arcs of fire on its aft turret. And part of the other reason, as you can see on the stern, she has a internal hangar and then aircraft launcher. So it's not actually for keeping the aircraft intact when the gun fires, because whether the gun's on a barbette or not, it would still shred an aircraft that's over there if it fired directly over it. It's more about just having the clearance to easily maneuver aircraft in and out.
Makes sense. Well, shall we do the secondary battery just now then?
Yes.
So 6-inch guns
Triples.
with triples. Very nice.
Yeah. So they should.
They've
got a mounting point there. That's perfect.
Something like that.
Yep. And then another pair either side of the bridge, just aft of the forward turret. So probably on the backmost of the backmost of the 3 mounts, right mounting points right forward. Forward. Forward of the superstructure, kind of a bit more. There.
Okay.
And that clears the way in the amidship section. Because in the amidship section, she has this lovely long battery of 90 millimeter or 3.5-inch guns.
Okay.
So good.
And were they triples or duals or singles?
Singles.
Singles. Oh, very nice. Just all along. Was it?
Yeah. So you've got six run. So if you start out with one just behind the forward 6.6. Yeah, that one. Where you had that, where it locked in on that mounting.
Like
there you go. Yeah, and then just see if you can run 6 of them total. 3, that'll be 3, 4,
5, 6.
And that's actually ended up in almost exactly the right position in terms of location of those superstructures as well.
Fantastic.
This is going really well. Someone's obviously paid a lot of attention to modelling this for us earlier, modelling the Italian stuff in the game.
Right. Yeah, I do like the Italian designs. They're really, really fun. They're really nice hulls to play around with as well. And then, do we have some light AA as well?
Yes, so there's actually a pair of a few slightly larger guns, believe it or not, for AA. So there's some 120 mil or 4.7 inch. So I guess we start at the 4 and up them.
Yeah.
Now where have they
inch.
put? So they're actually star shell guns, which is something that the Italians really like to go for.
Cool.
But they're kind of superstructure mounted.
Okay. It's not giving me any mounting points for a gun that large. Annoyingly. I reckon this will all be 2-inch and 3-inch in here.
Yeah, which doesn't allow for turret mountings either, which is a bit annoying. But
well, we can fit 2-inch guns on top of the second.
Oh, okay.
The other guns,
Fair enough.
so,
They actually put those in.
So we can cover her in 2-inch guns, or I think it goes down to 1.1 inch.
Okay, well let's leave the 4.7s to say they're star shell guns, so realistically they shouldn't have any effect. But she does have quite a few. Well, twin 2-inch is probably the smallest, the closest to what we can actually get.
We can get them all the way down to 1.1s.
Yeah, but we've got to go with twin 2s for ease of use. So if we stick stick 2 sets on the aft turret, 2 sets on B turret, and then just scatter some on the higher areas of the superstructure.
Spread them around.
There we go.
There we go.
Right, so we just got to worry about the funnels now.
Okay.
Right, so we want the forward funnel needs to be just a little bit taller than the second one.
Okay. So we've got 2 basic types. We've got one like that. And we've got one like that. I don't know if the difference is that extreme. This one also has this kind of scaffolding on the back.
Around it. Well, if we flip them around, then the height-wise at least is accurate. Scaffolding's not so much.
Well, what I can do then is, how about we go for that? So
no, that's better. Yes.
2 versions of the same funnel, just one's bigger than the other.
Yeah, that's it. That's the profile.
Fantastic.
That's looking quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's looking really good.
Never let it be said the Italians didn't know how to design a good ship.
No, definitely not.
Good-looking ship at the very least.
Definitely. Okay, so what about her protection? What kind of armor quality does she have?
This is a bit of an interesting one because the Tourney Armor Works had some very, very good quality armor, and it had the right amount of face hardening depth for Battleship caliber fire. They were one of the only ones who had variable depth, which would initially suggest a 4, but at the same time, it was not made of the same kinds of advanced alloys that the British and German were made of. So it's kind of 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'd be tempted, because of some of the other limitations in the game we're going to come up with, to actually give it the 4.
Okay.
To represent the basically the quality of how Tourney turned out their armor, even if it's not got the same metallurgy. Because as I said, as we'll see, there's a few other bits involved that we can't replicate. So this is kind of a fudge factor to compensate.
Fair enough. And what about her flash protection?
Barbette 3.
And the controversial torpedo protection.
Oh yeah, this is an argument and a half, because some people say the Pugliese system worked really well. Others point out, say that it actually was awful, and everything in between. So,
well, the way the game describes it is basically extra torpedo bulkheads. So it's 1, 2, and 3, and then 4, and then the 5 is also a quadruple layer system, but
Yeah, see, the problem is the Pugliese system doesn't use any of that at all. Yeah, it's this very unique system, which is basically, if you imagine a massive cylinder,
Yeah.
so you have the inner hull, which is actually the true inner hull of the ship, and then outboard of that is this socking great cylinder mounted in huge brackets, and then outside of that is kind of the outer casing that we see as the hull itself. And the idea was that when the torpedo detonated against the side of the ship, all the explosive pressure that then goes into the ship would go into crushing this long cylinder,
Right.
rather than
like a
bursting through the inner hull.
crumple zone on a
Yeah,
car.
in a lot of ways. And then exactly whether or not that worked as intended or at all, or was possibly even a negative, is something people have been arguing over pretty much ever since they found out what it was. So I'm going to split things down the middle and give her, say, an anti-torp 3.
Okay, fair enough. So equivalent to a kind of regular old triple torpedo.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then,
which means everyone will be angry with us.
it is, of course, an option just to not have any at all. So
which would be a bit harsh.
if you really want to know it was rubbish,
No,
just
we'll
take
give her a
off.
3. Yeah, double hull. Kind of all our regular stuff. Reinforced 1, anti-flood 2. And then her citadel is, technically speaking, an all or nothing. But as we will see, a very weird one.
Okay. Guns. Now, again, we're going to replicate the results of the main guns rather than trying.
Which is going to be absolutely hilarious because
okay.
There are a few things that affect gun accuracy in this game, but the fundamental issues with these things and their ability to hit the broadside of a barn from inside the barn
so
are somewhat legendary, but we can't deal with that. So, but increased AP, base fuse HE for the secondaries. Start off with capped and see where that takes us. So bursting charge is actually TNT.
Okay.
For these, and the propellant charge is, what are we going to call that? I'm going to call it tube powder 2 for the minute.
Okay.
And electrical 2 turrets.
Very nice.
Now the reloading is at the rate of fire is actually quite low, 1.3 rounds a minute.
Okay. They're currently on 1.56 anyway.
And that'll come down as we adjust things.
So what could
going to our 20,000 yard penetration, or 20,000 meter, should have a 15.8 inches of armor penetration.
Okay, so against the latest and greatest armor in the game, you're looking for 38 equivalent. So it's currently at 25.
Right. So what have we got for shell weight?
Shell weight, bearing in mind this is for viewers, that includes the charge as well, is 1,459 kilograms.
Right. We can bring it down to 1,100 before we get undersized. So let's see what happens to the armor penetration if we go with a lightweight shell. Does that help at all?
It goes to 24.1.
Is that better or worse?
Worse.
Okay, fair enough. Go back to standard. Right, okay. What happens if we ramp the propellant up to the most powerful propellant?
So we can go to tube powder 3, which gives us a little bit more pen. I think tube powder 3 has the most pen of any.
Yeah, okay. Let's try and go. We're going to need to max things out. So tube powder 3.
That gives us a 25. Go with a cap ballistic 2 shell. Which gets us up to 27.4.
And we're aiming for
38.
Okay, we may have a way to go. Absurdly long guns, here we come.
Yes. Now that will bring their rate of fire down.
Which is good in this
Now
case.
we could make them completely absurd and go for them. It says this
That's actually gone too high. Has it? No,
61,
yeah.
a 34.7. So still actually not quite there, which is a bit unbelievable. But apparently, 34.7, just slightly off. I think pretty much the only thing we can do after that.
What's their rate of fire now?
1 round a minute.
So we've actually gone a little bit too far on that, but never mind.
We could give them bigger shells. That would help.
Okay.
They are already much bigger than what they were historically. But if we went for a heavy, that gets us to 36.6, which is pretty close. I think.
Okay, and our rate of fire is probably down to less than 1 round a minute, I think.
It is, yeah. But we haven't changed
we can do the
reload system. So what was the figure that we were looking for? Sorry, you did tell me.
1.3.
1.3. Of course, it's always the last one you try. There we go. 1.27.
Fine. With our absurdly long wet guns.
They do look pretty amusing.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you might as well just stick a bayonet on the end and go in for melee.
Well, how long were her guns in reality? Just out of interest, I'm assuming they were 45.
Historically, they were actually 50 cals, so they were some of the longer ones.
Yeah, I think the game it's just got the calibers a little bit too long in general, particularly the late game guns. But we're replicating the results, not the exact system. So, what about turret rotation? That is coming out at 2.3 degrees per second.
That needs to be a fair bit faster.
Okay, we could go to, I think, electro to 2.5.
It's still way too slow, but I don't think we're going to get any better at that point.
No, not unless we shorten the gun again.
Yeah, which given we've been going for we've been universally going for the armor piercing values are the same as historical across the board. I think we're just going to have to live with that.
Yeah. Weirdly, I thought changing the gun length would increase the rotation speed, but
it might actually go up when we adjust the armor values, because it's probably also I would hope based partly on how heavy the turret is, and at the moment that thing is built like a tank.
Certainly is. Well, just before we get to armor, shall we?
Yeah.
What about the 6-inch guns are 45s? The 3-inch guns are 33s. I don't know.
The 6-inch guns are actually 55 calibers.
Oh wow. Okay. I think we can get them that long. 54.
Close enough.
Close enough. They also look absurdly long.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And the 3-inch are the 90 mils are 53 caliber.
Okay, that's going to be a stretch, but yeah, we can get to 40.
Well, they're 3.5s as well, so we can put the diameter up a bit.
It's still only giving me a 40, but at least they're the right size.
Well, it's as close as we can get. So.
Yeah. Okay. Rangefinder.
Going to give them coincidence 5 because they actually have a combination of coincidence and stereoscopic, but we can't give them both. No. But there was nothing wrong with Italian range finding. It was purely down to the shells from the guns just going every which way other than where you actually aimed them.
Yes, there's not a thing that's featured in the game. Pretty much all shells work perfectly in the game. Although they did add the dud torpedoes, so it would be interesting if they added dud shells as well. Although I think the players would go absolutely nuts. I'm assuming she had a hydro.
Basic hydro, yeah. Advanced radio and actually no radar unless. Although I suppose if we're giving them, if we're going hypothetical absolute end of the war, they might. You could probably stick a radar, a Gen 1 on.
Gen 1. Okay. I think that's fair enough. I think if they survived to the end of the war, in theory,
Someone would have stuck something on them.
Yeah, they would have put a rate. Like if they'd what actually I don't know. They got sunk, didn't they, by the Germans before when the Italians
No,
surrendered?
so there were there were four of them that were launched. So you had Littorio, Vittorio Veneto, Roma, and Impero. Impero was never quite finished. Littorio and Vittorio Veneto made it to Malta, but Roma was sunk by Fritz X on the way.
Okay. So I guess if the Allies had decided to try and shove them into service,
they might have dragged a
I'm
radar system or two up.
assuming they just kind of spent the rest of the war sitting there not doing very much. But
yeah, basically there was a combination of two things. One, being built for the Mediterranean, they weren't particularly long-ranged vessels, which by the time everything had been sorted out, being in the sort of the Pacific was the only theatre worth mentioning for battleships by that point. And also they were a little worried over the loyalty of the crew.
Can't imagine why.
Because for smaller Italian ships, it was a bit easier to guarantee that, for a destroyer or a cruiser, it was easier to guarantee the loyalty of a smaller crew. And if they went rogue, it was a much less of a problem than if a full-scale fast battleship goes a bit off the range.
Sure. So, what about her armor thicknesses? What was she running?
So 11-inch main belt. And then just 1.5-inch for the fore and aft, because that's main deck armor is going to be 6-inch or 5.9, technically speaking. And then the forward deck again get 1.5, 1.5.
Yep.
Conning tower, we have 10 inches.
Okay.
And the superstructure again 1.5, because just splinter proofing. Now this is where we get the fun begins. So we have a 1.5-inch inner deck.
Just all of them, or there's 3 that we have options for. We can set them to 0, of course.
No, we do want at least 1.5 for the inner deck.
Yeah, but just one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
No, that's.
Just take it off. And then inner belt.
Right. So the inner belt. Now this is the interesting. So although you've only got an 11-inch main belt, it's actually capped on the outside. Again, this is what we can't replicate. By a 3-inch belt.
Okay.
Well, but technically 2.8, since we can do it to the exact values.
Sure.
So you've got a 2.8-inch belt. Then in actual fact, you have the main belt, but it's kind of flipped around on this. We've also got the fact that the main belt is angled.
Yes.
Albeit not by much, so we can probably up the equivalent main belt quality to 12.
Sure.
And then we got another 1.5-inch or 1.4-inch plate, which is actually genuinely behind the belt, which is there for catching splinters. And then another inch, so the third inner belt will be 0.9.
There we go. Lovely. Okay.
So that'd be an interesting set of armor to work out.
What about turrets?
Right, so the turrets have 15 inches on the front,
Mm-hmm.
5.9 on the roof.
Yep.
The barbettes are 14.
Okay.
The 6-inch guns actually have, believe it or not, an 11-inch face.
Wow. It won't even let me do that. 8.2
No.
is saying is the maximum.
Yeah, fair enough. And 5.9 on the roof.
Very nice.
I guess they're a bit paranoid about someone blasting something that large on the upper decks.
And
Barbettes are 5.9.
okay. Oops.
And the maximum thickness for the 3.5-inch guns is at 1.6.
Okay. It's just on the tops because it won't let me on the sides. Okay. Well, I don't think she's too bad. She has a little bit of a forward weight offset, according to the game. She's also noticeably underweight.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Well, what have we missed?
Well, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure. What about her range? I know she didn't have a long range by
No,
her contemporary standards. As the
that's actually
game's
that she's actually about 50% over range.
okay, so that's going to make it even worse.
So if we cut that down, her weight's going to come down even further.
We
Yeah,
can
so
make it
yeah,
all the way.
that's actually more accurate. And now her weight's gone down even more. Which I suppose this is probably actually, to be fair, accurate enough because we're not modeling that ridiculous Pugliese anti-torpedo system,
Yeah, actually, out of interest,
which would have taken up a huge amount of volume.
out of interest, if you give it no, it doesn't actually make as much difference as I thought. She does have the displacement to fit an anti-torpedo 5, so you can argue in the comments of the video about whether she should have whether it was a good choice or not. But yeah, ignoring that, she
Yeah, it is very, very interesting actually the way that this has worked out, because there's only really been one major part of the ship design where we've gone, hang on, that doesn't correlate with reality. Everything else has been pretty much spot on,
yeah.
except we've ended up with a ship that's displacing actually even less than her standard displacement. So who knows?
Yeah, the game does estimate the torpedo defense system and how much displacement it's taking up. It's saying it's just over 2,000 tons.
Yeah, but then torpedo defenses do take up a lot of displacement.
I'm
It's just
curious how that compares to her actual system, if that's even a number that is
it will be a number in a table somewhere, but not one I've got
that's
to hand.
But those of you who are watching, you can, if you're a Littorio anti-torpedo protection guru, you can have a look and you can compare.
Well, I think it's probably quite an interesting reflection on the different if you like, eras of Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts that these various things have come in at.
Yeah,
Because the fact we've had so few issues, apart from just our regular having to fudge the main guns, indicates to me that whoever was in charge of developing this particular setup was very on the ball.
well,
And some of the older nations that are in the game, they're a bit more patchwork together.
yeah, and it's interesting because this particular hull is one of the newer hulls in the game. I can't remember exactly when it was added, but Italy got a bunch of new hulls, and this was one of them. So it is a more recent one. I think it's the same person who's done every single hull in the game. It's just one person, And clearly I think as well, just from fiddling around with some of the other newer hulls, they are getting better and better at kind of accurately modelling the hulls on real ships, but still letting you kind of do what you want, because you can build a very different ship to this on this hull, and it still looks good and it still plays well. So if you are the person who who made the hull, well done. I can look up the name, and I should do that actually. But I think she looks really good. I think she looks spot on actually. Well, thank you very much for joining me. That was a really interesting build, and to those of you watching, thank you as well, and we'll see you again soon for some more Ultimate Admiral Dreadnoughts. Bye for now.
See you then.